Hello everyone, this is Bob and Threadbare, and welcome back to Deus Ex. Now we're going to be taking the back way into the Versalife building. We could actually take the front door, but there are going to be a whole lot of MJ-12 commandos waiting in the office complex for us. Plus this is just more fun anyhow. Now this is actually a fairly small map here. Nobody but us and the two gangs, which seems set on killing each other. I guess these guys just haven't gotten the news that the triads are one now. Red Arrow sent the Luminous Path packing, but at the same time it looks like they had a Luminous Path member in reserve. So let's see how he does against these two wounded Red Arrows. Okay. So now there is exactly one gang member who is not running in fear of his life. I have to say, this is more interesting than usual for this particular confrontation. Usually it's over in a matter of seconds because they do not inflict grazing wounds on each other. And, well, over there you can see the place where we need to go.
Nothing to see here. Move along. The road's blocked. You have to go through the market. The road's blocked. You have to go through the market.
Well, this isn't too much of a problem. Just go right over the barricades here.
Move along! Move along! Nothing to see here.
Wonder what happened. But yeah, it looks a little too blocked for us to get there. But thankfully, that was a trip back in time. And the reason I did that, of course, is because you would miss all of that if I came in when I first arrived in the regular playthrough, because with the triads at peace, those two groups won't spawn and kill each other. And now that I need to get into the level 2 labs, that roadblock is gone. And incidentally, if you come down here in order to spawn the two groups of gang members, but you do not walk all the way down so that they attack each other, then if the truce is declared, then they will actually stand there and just sort of look at each other. So yeah, we got the code for this, although we could have used 4 multi-tools if we somehow didn't have it. This grate's going to be a problem, but not much of one. Also, oddly enough, someone stashed a flamethrower up here on the top of the pipe. Weird place to put it. Wow. Anyway, I'm pretty much full up on GEP explosives, so why not? It's gonna be a long way down. Now we're in the nanotech containment facility. A lot of pipes around here. Kind of interesting. If you select the right pipes, you don't have to jump or anything. Looks like there's only one way to go from here, though. Looks like a door, but they aren't.
There is a device in here called a universal constructor. It is one of the only 2 devices in the world capable of producing the nanomechanical virus called the Grey Death. I require you to destroy it. Use the code 525.
Daedalus is a very matter-of-fact kind of AI. Not that that should be too surprising. Now let's see where we are exactly. We can actually see a commando through that corner mirror. It's pretty interesting. But then there's this elevator here. This elevator leads to a very familiar location. Level 1 labs. Sounds like it's pretty much just the way we left it, too. But yeah, this is where that one overhead tunnel leads. And that code we used to get into the sewers also works to open the elevator doors, oddly enough. So like I said, we could go through the front door to get down here, but for some reason that mirror has stopped working. Well, Luckily, we don't need it, because we'll be taking the lower path. It's just a matter of hacking this keypad. And what do you know? Nothing but a whole bunch of doors which are no longer in our way.
Look for a computer terminal somewhere in Revel 2 lab. If you find it, I can upload the data I need through your infolink.
Oh hey, a scramble grenade. You know, that's more useful than ballistic armor, at least. Now the commando is actually upstairs, and he is trapped now. Because all of these doors went up to that upper path. Cut him off now. Okay, gotta be careful of that camera. But if you come up here, you'll be able to find a security terminal. Along with another keypad that presumably messes with that door system again. Luckily, these same codes we got on level 1 also work here. You may notice that I unlocked the door, by the way. We'll see what that means soon enough. Or perhaps not. I might be taking this grate here instead. Kinda hard to see what's down there. There's another one over here, and it's unlocked. There's nothing down there. Still, this is actually a little more stealthy than the straightforward route. So, yeah, why not? I mean, I am full on lockpicks and multi-tools. What good is money if you never use it? And hey, what do you know? There is, in fact, a reason to spend lockpicks on this particular door. You might hear there, it gets me past some lasers. Those lasers actually trip, I believe, 2 different combat bots of the middle type. I think I can deal with this guy. Unfortunately, I believe that scientist just set off the alarm. A shame. Mostly because it turns on the walkers. But hey! Aside from being a little too close to the explosions, this is a pretty decent place to be when destroying those particular walkers. So now let me just show you the... Oh, hang on.
This storage area would be a logical place to find a stockpile of the virus. I don't know why it's so empty.
So, getting around these lasers is pretty easy when you have level 4 super speed, but there are alternate ways too.
The system we're looking for is in the laboratory up ahead.
Kinda ahead of you there, boss. Anyway, you may notice over here there is an alternate way of dealing with these lasers. I'm not just talking about the panel you can shut off. But the fact of the matter is that these are one of those rare kinds of lasers that, in fact, do not do anything when they are blocked. It's kinda neat. I wanted those biocells. So down there is our eventual goal. This map isn't actually that big. Luckily that still works too. And we got one of our goals finished just now.
Got it! Looks like you stumbled on more than the schematics. You better get out of there. More in a second.
I'm not sure that that one data cube is worth spending any resources. And unfortunately, in the patched game, the Dragon's Tooth does not destroy any sort of barrier which you can hit it with. I know, it's a shame. I type that right? I'm sure I typed that right. Oh well, that's what hacking is for. And that just saved me a whole bunch of multi-tools on down the line. And there's another nano... Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't need it, though. But I did just save myself a whole bunch of multi-tools on down the line, because there are more of those nano canisters.
The Universal Constructor is in this facility.
In this? I'm standing on it. Or over it, at least. That's it down there. Also, there's a familiar figure down there. Let's try out this targeting. Yep, that's Maggie Chow. 58 feet straight down. Why would it be in feet? It was created by scientists. So, anyway, we got us our glorious wealth of nano canisters, including 1 upgrade, 3 regular. Let's see here. Now, of course, we'll need a medbot to install it, but luckily, the game thought of that too. Let's just take a quick hike down here. Hey there, buddy. Now here you can actually see what I was talking about earlier. See, I can put Aqualung into the torso, even though I've got the environmental resistance already installed. But I'm not going to, because the power circulator and the synthetic heart are way too valuable. I mean, one of them reduces power drain of every augmentation in use. The other one boosts the effective ability level of every active aug by 1, up to a maximum of 4. But ultimately, I'd rather go for endurance than effectiveness. I mean, I'm finding all of the aug upgrade canisters. That'll do me for effectiveness. So let's upgrade this thing. Reduce power drain even more. Can stay invisible for forever. One of these days, anyhow. Oh yes, something else I wanted to show you. I'm going to illustrate this by creating a few towers of currently useless goods. I said drop it. There's less room when you're looking down, so that'll happen. But everything looks to be in order up here. So let's head downstairs and see what Maggie Chow has to say to us, now that we know her secret. Not much of a secret, but there you go.
Bad move, Agent.
You should never have sent me to the police station. What did you expect? That they would arrest me? Turns out you're on your way to being one of Hong Kong's most wanted yourself.
I have always been one of the most wanted. I will deal with the police in the way I deal with the slanderous press.
How's that?
Precisely the way I am going to deal with you. Time to die, JC.
I don't think close combat murder is going to be all that effective. Especially when I can just climb a ladder and get rid of you. Well, she even lost track of me. Normally she'd be running around at the base, futile.
Fight.
But no, she doesn't even know where I am. Poor woman. Doesn't even have any augmentations. What did she expect was going to happen? So you may have noticed the sound that's kind of going crazy. But yeah, it's going crazy because there are some spider bots behind these doors, which are going to be opened soon. That's why I'm switching to the anti-mechanical Sapo rounds. And just in case this works, I'll be planting a couple of EMP grenades on the railing here. I would plant it on the wall, but they go too far away from the wall to actually set them off. Now, Let's bust this thing open. So bust this thing open. Come on, what the hell was the number? I know it's 2 5s. There we go. That was embarrassing.
Walls have sealed off the entrance. We'll have to exit through the effluent pipes in the floor of the chamber. Beware of biotoxin concentrations.
I really wanted to look at that thing explode, but unfortunately the spider bots took up all my attention, and those down there, that's what I wanted to show you. All of my med kits have fallen to the ground now that that thing exploded. It set off the EMP grenade, but apparently it didn't take them out. So the electricity that you can barely see here, and trust me, I can barely see it too, you have to shut that off. And you have to do it with this panel here. I'd rather not use 4 multi-tools at once, but needs require. These things are downright deadly. And now they're off. Not sure what you're supposed to do if you don't have 4 or however many it takes multi-tools. Oh, there's a ladder down here somewhere. Ah, here we are. I don't know, I guess you're supposed to have regeneration on, or med kits, or just go really, really fast or something. So the water here, both inside the tanks and on the ground, is toxic or radioactive. Either way, it's not something you want to touch. So that's why I'm being very careful, going around the lids of the vats, and going over to that one in the corner here, which is the way out.
Seems to be some inventory data here. Versalife has been synthesizing the Grey Death virus in great quantities. The entire stockpile has been loaded onto a super freighter going to New York. Interesting. The previous owner of the ship was Stanton Dowd. Ever hear of the Illuminati? Come back to the compound. I have much to tell you.
I guess this is what happened to one of those Europeans. But fortunately, the full-sized Karkians take just as much damage as the baby-sized ones. Which in this case is 5 darts. I've used tranq darts, but they actually deal less damage overall, even counting the persistent damage, than regular darts can.
Tracking down this Dowd connection. Illuminati fingerprints all over the Sterix. I'm talking about the molecule shape. 17 segments, 23 coupling points. Only Illuminati technicians use sleeve bearings with 34-fold and 46-fold symmetry. Multiples of 17 and 23? 17, 23? The birth of Adam Weishaupt? Not a coincidence.
If you say so. I'm not even sure what that key is for. It's not like you need one to get out of here. By the way, welcome back to the canals. Let's go talk to our buddy, the vegetable salesman.
Excuse me, I was looking for a way back to the market.
You are American? Did they throw you in the canal?
I was swimming.
You should not be down there. What's that sort of thing like shark, but with 4 legs? It lives in the pipe like comes from Versalife.
Is there a way back to the market from here?
You will have to swim. If you see other divers, stay away. Some Europeans are hunting for treasure in the tunnel that fell in. Bad man. My store is now open in the evening.
Well, at least you hear about the Europeans twice. Still doesn't tell you that you need to go into the canal bar to find the entrance.
Tong is pleased about the files you found. Your pilot will be here as soon as you talk to Tong. We cannot believe the news of the super freighter. Something must be done. You must speak with Tong immediately. You have done much for the Triads. Now the hard work begins. Tong must find a cure for the virus. Your pilot will be here as soon as you talk to Tong.
Oh, look who it is.
Tong fix you up? Yeah, you? You cut it pretty close. I'm in pretty bad shape. Looks like I'll be living in Hong Kong for a couple of months. Will you get better? Any permanent damage? I'll recover, but not right away. You'll be on your own for a while. I hear you've already been keeping busy. Just getting to know the locals. Turns out Versalife had a universal constructor. They were synthesizing the virus right here. Tong told me. Not a cheap gizmo. Majestic 12 sure does a lot of R&D. Every ruler needs a power base. Without the people, well, you need something to use against them. I'm going to see what Tong has to say about the schematics I recovered. Hey, do me a favor. Get better. I'm working on it. I'm still pretty weak. You'll have to go on to New York without me. Gunther's in the field now. They say he wants your head. Heads are starting to roll at UNATCO. Kaplan, Barry, not sure who else. Gunther's in the field now. They say he wants your head. Don't know if I care for your sense of humor.
Humor?
The Illuminati stuff. I was risking my life in there.
No joke, Mr. Ditton. They're quite real. Though not as powerful as they were at the beginning of the century. I know a few of the former leaders.
Like Stanton Dowd?
Yes, plus Beth Duclair, Morgan Everett. Most of them in Paris, I understand.
What do they have to do with Majestic 12?
A question for Dowd. I will contact him in New York. Hopefully he will agree to meet you.
What about a hacker named Daedalus?
A valuable informant. He sent me one of the codes I needed to find that super freighter.
A super freighter? That's enough virus to infect a continent.
Your pilot is landing in the courtyard. Find out and see if he knows where the ship is going or how we can stop it. In any case, it is time you left Hong Kong. There is word of a UNATCO agent searching for you here. A German, they say. Augmented.
Tell your people not to tangle with them. I'll deal with them myself. Do you have what you need to synthesize a cure?
The data you recovered should provide an answer. In time.
I also destroyed the universal constructor they were using to manufacture the virus.
A universal constructor? I should have known.
But I did it on the advice of the hacker, Daedalus. Who is he, really? Alex says he may be an AI, part of an old government program.
An AI? The thought occurred to me, but more likely it is cover for a real human being.
But who?
A powerful man, we must assume. I don't like mysteries, but at least he appears to be on our side.
I don't like mysteries either.
Your friend Jock is waiting in the courtyard. Daedalus. That sounds very familiar.
Well, he is a famous engineer from Greek myth.
Your brother will recover soon. He got here just in time. My guess is that Majestic 12 is a faction of the Illuminati, which did away with its parent. All I know is that something terrified Dowd and Everett. Once two of the most powerful people on Earth. Now the old Illuminati heads are afraid even to be seen in public. Be careful in New York. They'll be waiting for you. Your friend Jock is waiting in the courtyard.
Of course, Daedalus is also the name of the root at the end of every internet address, so that might also be why it's familiar. Looks like Tong's guards got doubled, since both triads are now united. Now, last thing we're going to do here is have a chat with our good old friend, Alex.
Quite a load of data you brought in. A lot to study. Don't know how Tong expects to find a cure. It's not even a real virus. Kind of a hybrid of viral proteins and nanomechanical machine parts. A long body like a dragonfly. Sockets built into the shaft. Saucer-shaped modules plugged in here and there. A general-purpose device of some kind. Very customizable. Infection would be a ludicrously simple task for such a complicated machine. Ambrosia turns out to be one of the saucer-shaped modules, a hardware lock of some kind. We could replicate the Ambrosia functionality, but to actually destroy the nanovirus, I don't know. You go after that shipment, I'll help Tong. You go after that shipment, I'll help Tom.
The fact that it's customizable is what makes me think that what he's describing are actually nanites, the exact same ones in the Denton brothers and the other two, Page and Simons.
Someone there.
Take him down, my friend.
What the hell? What are you on about? Come on, dude. What the hell? It's kinda nuts. I have no idea what set him off. But if he wants a sword fight, I'll give him a sword fight. Somehow he hit me while he was going down, but let's see. 30 points. Not bad. Well, that was weird, but in any case, it is time to leave Hong Kong for good.
Tong filled me in. So we have to dig up Stanton Dowd?
Yeah, you know him?
I heard a few things. I think Harley Philbin knows how to contact him. I always thought Philbin was pulling my leg about the Illuminati, though.
I guess we'll find out when we get to New York. Let's not waste any time.
See you back in New York, folks. And now, today, I'll be completing the Versalife Science Corner Trio with a look at genetic manipulation. Looking back. Much like human enhancement, genetic manipulation has a surprisingly extensive history. Let me show you a few examples. This is a dog. This is what a dog looked like before humans got our hands on them. This is a cow. This is what cattle looked like before humans got our hands on them. And this is corn, or maize, depending on where you live. But this is what corn looked like before humans got our hands on it. Notice anything yet? In 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick successfully identified the structure of DNA. In 2003, the Human Genome Project successfully sequenced the genetic code of a single individual. And as computers have gained speed, it's become cheaper and cheaper for private individuals to obtain a comprehensive sequence of their own genome. We have run into a problem, however, which is figuring out what to do with this knowledge. Now, using DNA as a forensic identifier has been relatively easy, since we can track light and dark bands in the chromosomes, which are unique to each individual, and 1/2 is always passed down from each parent to their children, barring the occasional gene too many. Genetic forensics can be used in identifying criminals, determining parentage, and even figuring out roughly how different ethnic groups have migrated throughout the centuries. Comparative genetics can be used to determine how closely related various species are to one another, and when exactly they diverged with far more accuracy than by simply examining their anatomy. However, we are also beginning to understand just which genes are responsible for which chemical functions, and we are also introducing new and altered genes into existing organisms through various methods. The simplest is naked DNA injection, but it requires us to sit back and hope that the genes will find their way into the cells and then replace or add themselves to the chromosomes where we want them to go. The second method is retroviral insertion. Basically remove the genetic code from a virus and insert what we want, since the viral vehicle is perfect for infiltrating the cell wall. However, it's expensive to mass produce, since the viruses are no longer self-replicating, plus the immune system is specifically designed to shut down viral invaders. Recently, we've come up with a few more effective techniques, like electroporation, a quick shock microseconds in length which opens up the cell walls to let the DNA strands in, and gene guns, which are basically gold nanorods wrapped in genetic material, which are then slammed into cells, delivering their cargo directly. This ability to alter genes has opened up all sorts of possibilities, At the most basic level, it allows us to create food crops which are resistant to insects, diseases, and pesticides, along with growing more edible material in less time, with fewer resources and less excess material. Of the 4 basic American food crops, wheat, soybeans, corn, and rice, roughly 80% of what's grown today has been genetically modified. Other plants have also been modified, especially tomatoes, which are tricky to transport, and potatoes, which already produce a lot of calories in rough conditions. We have also modified bacteria, yeast, and other organisms for medical purposes. With the right genes, these creatures can produce proteins and other byproducts, which can then be harvested and used as vaccines and treatments. Do you remember the HPV vaccines that came out a few years back? The 2 vaccines are produced thanks to genetically modified insects and yeast. The stated end goal of a lot of these specialty crops is to create edible vaccines and medicines, something able to skip the process of injection with its risks of infection from dirty needles and allergic reactions to vaccine preservatives. In addition, although gene therapy in humans got off to a rocky start, the newer delivery systems have proven much more effective. Although since not every cell in the body can be altered at once, gene therapy today still requires several sessions and cannot fix every genetic condition. Still, it can make blood cells more effective, either by treating blood-based genetic ailments or by making the immune system more effective against cancer cells. And gene therapy has been particularly effective in improving impaired sight and color blindness. In 2012, the European Medicines Agency approved the first commercial rollout of a gene therapy, which treats a genetic cause of pancreatitis, and numerous clinical trials have provided promising results, including one attempt to fight HIV by modifying the T cell. We must dissent. Let me start by getting the unreasonable objections out of the way. Genes are not tinker toys, nor are they Legos, and you cannot splice the arms of one animal and the head of another into a third. You will never end up with Dr. Moreau-style monkey people or cat people. As genetics have become more mainstream, this concept has lost ground, but it still bears clarifying. While we can alter the chemicals that an organism produces and modify cellular reactions, it is much harder to screw around with the patterns that determine the overall shape of a plant or an animal. And even when we know which genes are involved, switching them around will not produce predictable Lego-like changes. Second issue, genetically modified food is not inherently poisonous and does not cause mutations in the consumer. You do not turn red when you eat a tomato. Your stomach does not solidify into starch when you eat a potato. And ears of corn will never grow out of your actual ears. By the way, you guys know Deez by now, right? I've been borrowing a few of his images here and there for my corners since he believes in a lot of the conspiracies I highlight. I just thought I'd take a moment to acknowledge him here since his second strongest belief is that aspartame and genetically modified food is killing us. His strongest belief is that chemtrails are full of deadly artificial parasites which cause skin lesions and emit cotton fibers in a fake condition that the internet has named Morgellons disease. I used an image of it in the Nanotech Corner 2 weeks back. Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah, and the amount of gluten in wheat has not increased appreciably over the past 40 years. And in fact, wheat is the least genetically altered of all the staple grains. Gluten does not make you sick, and it does not make you fat. To those of you with an actual gluten allergy, I say congratulations, and I hope you enjoy this fad diet while it lasts. But to those of you who avoid gluten without an appreciable reason, allow me to respond by taking a bite out of this lovely, fluffy, crunchy loaf of French bread. But now let's move on to some of the real concerns. The first is a little thing called self-perpetuating life. See, the only way to fully contain pollen is in a greenhouse or a hydroponics center, which are expensive to maintain and keep clean, especially compared acre by acre to simple outdoor farming. Plant-based medicine sounds great, but what about when it cross-pollinates with food crops? You might be in for an overdose. And even if every medical plot were isolated, and they aren't, there's still the matter of tornadoes, windstorms, fires, or even hitching a ride on a car. Plants will crossbreed with whatever they can. And while that's not a significant problem when you're talking about corn graded for human and non-human consumption, and that's just a slight change in quality, when you get plants specialized for non-food uses, contaminating plants which are used for food, then you're going to run into some trouble. As for other organisms, labs are more secure than farms, but accidents still happen. This is also troubling to the GM companies. They patent genes and gene insertion technologies, and it is necessary. The patent system allows corporate scientists to share their developments, while providing an exclusivity period that allows them to make a profit off of their knowledge. But then life intervenes. Wind whips pollen from GM corn into a neighbor's field, and the neighbor benefits without having to pay anything extra. That's just how it works. And if we get to the point of improving the genes of human babies, their children will benefit without having to pay more money for gene therapy. So how do you make a profit when life itself finds a way? How do you protect your investment when your investment has a mind of its own? And how do you do any of this without imposing dystopian yet futile laws to try and stop it? And then there's genetic human enhancement. Curing diseases is all well and good, but we could do more. We could make our own fifth men, stronger, smarter, wiser. All we have to do is figure out what constitutes better. But that's the trickiest problem of all. See, throughout our history of genetic modification, we have seen more trade-offs than universal improvements. Dogs respond better than wolves to human commands, but in exchange they understand each other less. And the most specialized breeds suffer from intense inbreeding. Cattle are docile and produce tremendous amounts of milk, but in exchange they need our protection. And if we don't milk them regularly, their udders become painfully swollen. Corn is an incredibly useful grain, but its husk grows so thick that without human harvesting, it cannot drop its seeds and produce another generation. Even the genes that cause genetic diseases in humans often have beneficial effects. The gene that can cause sickle cell anemia, which is when the red blood cells grow too small, also provides a strong resistance to malaria. Type 1 diabetes, that's the one that has nothing to do with obesity, is more common in populations near the Arctic Circle, because the genes that can cause it also provide more sugar to the bloodstream, and sugar can act as an antifreeze. Europeans, who tend to suffer more from certain autoimmune disorders, are also more resistant to the bubonic plague. Hell, there's growing thought that the increase of autoimmune disorders in general in developed nations is thanks in great part to the eradication of parasites. The genes that would activate in the presence of parasitic intrusion never switch on and never rein in the immune system the way that they would have otherwise. And that actually brings me to another point. To a very large extent, we still have no idea what we're doing. Not too long ago, perfectly reasonable scientists were ready to write off 98% of the human genome as junk DNA, with no real purpose except to fill in space between the real RNA and protein-producing genes. But then we kept finding genes among the junk which nevertheless indicated the presence or absence of genetic disorders. It seems like this is due to a related field, which we are only beginning to understand: epigenetics. Basically, you've got your genes in every cell of your body, but then you've also got proteins which can switch genes on or off, and you've got other proteins which can wind the DNA strands tightly or loosely, producing different effects. This is how stem cells can differentiate into muscles and organs and neurons. This is how identical twins can look completely different at age 60. This is how you can pass down different traits to your children at different times in your life. And this is how cancer cells can develop without any need for genetic mutation. On the plus side, it may turn out that cancer treatment will be easier than we thought, since we just need the right proteins instead of replacement DNA. On the minus side, our genetic code just got a whole lot more complicated. Personal thoughts. So, do I think that genetic manipulation is bad or that we should stop? Certainly not. We've been at it for millennia. All that's changed is our efficiency. Do I think there are universal improvements we could be making? Sure. I mean, if we've gotten rid of our parasites, then we should fix up the genes that react to their presence and go a little crazy when they aren't around. And who doesn't want functioning eyeballs? But the thing is, I don't think there are as many obvious upgrades as we might hope. And the building blocks of life are something that deserves a second and third look before making any changes, especially since conditions rarely remain stable. And do I even need to mention the ugly specter of eugenics? I'm sure we'd all love to create a generation of geniuses, but more of your intelligence is learned, is gained from your environment than it is based on the raw potential of your brain. And the fact of the matter is that there are a dozen and more different kinds of intelligence, and quite often specialization in one section comes at the expense of other areas. I am very good at 3D imaging and memorizing little factoids about the world, but I suck at remembering names. And my shyness was, let's just say, a constant problem growing up. And still today, though to a lesser extent. I'm not saying that these things have to be related. Maybe we can create kids who are good at math, at science, at art, at sports, at relating to others in a friendly but spirited cooperative competition. But I do know that if someone were to try it tomorrow, it could only end in disaster. And besides, adaptability is a more important human trait than intelligence. Think about it. Intelligence built us the modern world, but adaptability is what lets us live in it without too much issue, despite how half a blink of a geological eye ago, our ancestors all lived in animal skin tents and chased down herbivores on foot. And adaptability is not a specific set of genes, so much as it is the variety of all of them put together. Thanks for joining me again in Science Corner, and I hope I'll see you soon.